Welcome to another sewing tutorial. Today we're going to work on these tote bags and we're going to make them in two different ways. First up, we're going to need to cut our fabric, which I cut mine to about 34 inches by 15 inches. You can make these really as big or small as you want to. First, we're going to work on these ends where we're going to attach our straps to. So to start, we're going to fold it over 1 inch and then we'll press it down. And then we'll fold it over one more time and then we'll give that a good press too. And then flip it over and repeat on the other side. We're going to grab our cotton webbing next. Mine is 30 inches long, and we're going to space these out equally, and then we're going to tuck it in and then fold it over onto itself and pin that into place. Tucking it in and folding over onto itself is going to create a really strong hold because we don't want these bags tearing on us. Okay, and do the same to the other end, and just make sure that your strap isn't twisted at all before you put this down. And once you have those both pinned into place, go ahead and repeat that on the other side with your second strap. Okay, let's take it over to the sewing machine now, and I am using a black thread to match the black straps. You could choose to match your thread to your fabric. It's really up to you. I like to tie in the colors to make it all look cohesive. Now we're going to sew a straight stitch down the inside of this hem. So start with your back stitch and we're going to start sewing down, and take your time on these straps. Pull the pin out and make sure that the strap is still laying straight when you sew it down. And then snip those threads, and then we're going to do the same thing but on the outside of this hem. So we'll have 2 straight stitches on the top and the bottom of this hem that we ironed down. Okay, now that we have the 2 ends of our hem sewn down, we are going to work on securing these straps. So we're going to sew down this right side, and then we'll go up diagonally to the left, down the left side, and then up diagonally back to the right. So we'll start sewing down. Once we get to this corner to turn, we're going to make sure our needle's in our fabric, lift our presser foot up, spin our work, and then put our presser foot back down and continue sewing. Making sure that your needle's still in there is going to make sure that you don't lose your place and have loose stitches. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other end of this strap. Then we'll flip our work and repeat the process of sewing straight stitches down either side of the hem, and then our secure X stitching on both ends of the second strap. Now we'll go to one side of our fabric and we're going to take the two right sides together. Make sure everything lines up really well. You can put some pins in place too to hold it together. Then we'll take it over to the sewing machine and we're going to do a straight stitch all the way down. Make sure you're backstitching really well at the beginning and the end of everything on this bag. And then we'll just repeat this same thing on the other side of our bag. Okay, now we're going to do a zigzag stitch. So you're going to want to change your settings to your zigzag stitch. Length's at 3 for me, and then I changed my width to 5. Place that down, backstitch again, and we're going to work our way down, and I'm sewing it so that one side of the zigzag is meeting up with that straight stitch that we did. This doesn't need to be perfect, but it does look really nice if you can get it to line up well. And here is what that looks like now. So go ahead and repeat this onto the other side. Now that we have both sides finished, we are going to grab our fabric scissors and we're going to trim off the excess as close as we can to our zigzag stitch. If you do accidentally cut a stitch, don't worry, you can just pop it over to your sewing machine and just stitch over really well whatever was accidentally cut. And then we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. Now we're going to set those stitches with our iron. Just give it a quick press over each side. And now we're going to work on these corners. This is what makes our bag flat on the bottom. So we're going to go to one side that we sewed up and we're going to make a triangle like this. And I am measuring about 1.5 inch down, and that's where I'm going to sew across to make a flat side for the bottom. So if that sounds confusing, just follow along and you'll see what I mean. So place a pin there to mark where you're going to sew at and repeat this to the other side. Grab the side of the fabric, pull it open along that seam, put a pin where you're going to sew across to make that base. Since my bag's narrower, I'm sticking with 1.5 inches because I feel it's more proportional to my bag. If you're doing something larger, you might want to have a wider base, so you could go to 2 or even 3 inches for that. Okay, at our sewing machine again, and we're going to repeat the same process that we used to sew up our sides. So we're going to do a straight stitch down, and then we'll switch to our zigzag to finish that off. And once you've done it to both sides, we're gonna flip our bag right side out, and you are pretty much done now. So you can see how those two little corner pieces that we sewed together create this flat bottom at the end, which I personally love, and it's super easy to do. You can even add it as an addition to any bag that you currently have. And one last thing I would recommend doing is just roll these seams out and give it a press to really give it a crisp, clean look. And here's a look at that first bag with the zigzag seams and the flat bottom. So for the French seams, we are going to do the same with our handles, and then when it comes to closing up the sides, we are going to start with sewing the wrong sides together. Go ahead and just do a straight stitch down both sides of the bag. Okay, and flip your bag inside out and we'll press these seams down. The best way I found to do this is to open up your bag like this, and then we'll iron down the seam, and then we'll fold our bag flat again and we'll give it another press. Now let's head over to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew our right sides together this time. So inside here you have your seam from our first set of stitches, so be mindful of that. If you wanted to have these seams to be a little bit smaller, you could trim off the excess from our first set of stitches. So when you had your bag right side out still, you could give that a trim, turn it back inside out, iron it down like we did, and then sew it here. Now I'm just going to repeat this to the other side, and since we're leaving this as a straight bottom, this bag is done. So you can choose to mix and match these different styles and custom make your bag to fit you. You can see what those French seams look like now inside of this bag, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you guys want to learn next time.